Our theme for the month is wisdom, and this month we're going back to basics, and we do that at the beginning of the year, most years, in a number of Science of Mind centers to go back to the core tenets of the philosophy. It's a good way to set your year, to kind of go back to the beginning and remember the truth and kind of go through the main tenets of our teachings, and then build our year. And what we're talking about is the spiritual adventure of your soul, of your spirit this year. And so as we move forth on that through the months of this year, we go from this place of that foundation. So what we're trying to do is to remember how things work, right? Because it gets complicated. You know, everybody, when we start to talk about how life works and how we engage in this thing called life and how it unfolds, sometimes it gets really complicated. And so I'll talk about how things operate, and then somebody will say, but Reverend Katherine, you don't know what's going on in my world. Because my world is, my issues are big, you know? And I'm like, I've heard everything under the sun. And it's the same. No matter what it is, it's the same. And everything that we're faced with, every challenge, every difficulty, everything that comes down the pike that we don't expect, all of that is in alignment with our teaching. And so we're never stuck in one situation forever. And that's why I love this teaching so well, because there are moments when you can feel like you're stuck in a situation, right? Anybody else ever have that? Is it just me? Like it feels like it's never going to change. It feels like it's not possible to have it be any different. But what happens? It changes. You know, when you stop trying to change it sometimes is when it changes. And so these principles and these ideas can work for any situation in our experience, any situation in our lives. And so I think it's really important to go back to the beginning. I was thinking this morning, partially because I'm wanting to clean my closets, but I was thinking about the situation with our closets. So let's think about that for a second. Like, right, have you ever had a situation where you decide you're going to clean out those closets? You know, it's like maybe it's the spring cleaning or the beginning of the year, or I don't know, a Tuesday, you decide enough is enough, I'm going to clean out my closets. And you go through and you clean out your closets, and they're beautiful, and they're organized. And I almost want to sit in front of them with the door open instead of watching TV. Let me look at my closet, because it just feels so good, right? It's like everything's organized, it's every place for everything and everything in its place, right? That's one of the things my grandma used to say. And, but then what happens about 3 months later? Well, let's face it, my house is 3 days later, but 3 months later, you know, you go back and you open that closet, it's like, it's going to fall over on me again, you know? And so that's the reason why we go back to the beginning again, because we have to reorganize our closets. We need to reorganize our consciousness. What my goal is for this is for us to reorganize the closet of our brains, of our minds. To reorganize it enough until we have it set so that it stays that way, right? It takes a while to get the right organizational structure down for it to stick. Follow me on that? Yeah, so that's what we're trying to do. We go back to the beginning, and I have people who come to me and say, I've been studying this for 25 years. I've been studying this for 40 years. I've been studying, yeah, so have I, and every year I go back to the beginning because I still need a reminder of it. So that's what we're doing here this month. And today my talk is the wisdom of saying yes. And I've been thinking about that on a couple of different ideas. This week goes along with the 4th chapter of the Science of Mind, how to use it. And so one of the ways that I've been thinking about in terms of the wisdom of saying yes is this. We've been talking this month about how the fact that we're surrounded by this presence, this power, it's what we call God, that essence and spirit that permeates all things, that has created all things, that has created us. It's part of us, it sources us and sustains us, and that's what we call God. And so what we're looking at is how it operates and how we can use it. How we can consciously engage with this relationship with the divine and put it into action. And that's what we're up to now. We've talked about God, we've talked about how it works, we've talked about what it does, right? And it works through each of us, and it creates. And the reason why it does that, we're all emanations of the Spirit. We're part of its body, of its being. And so now what we're talking about this week is how we use it. And so the operation of this is, it was a perfect reading that Tina did this morning, thank you so much, because she was talking about the law, right? And we talk about the law, and I'll tell you, most ministers, they say, and I don't know who they are really, but they say that ministers are either teachers or preachers predominantly, right? And so I fashioned myself a little bit of a teacher to become a little bit of a preacher. It's kind of my path, which is a little bit around the bend there. But so the law is one of those things that I usually only talk about in class because it's really hard to explain it in an interesting and inspirational way. But I'm going to try today because I think it's important for us to understand how this works. So let's think about the totality. This is my teaching part. Let's think of the totality of the infinite. That infinite presence of God that has created all things. And so we in the science of mind look at this presence and this power as with its triune nature, like the Trinity. We have our own Trinity. If you come from one of those religions of your childhood that have a Trinity, we have a Trinity too. The first part of the Trinity is the infinite source, that Spirit of God. That part that is the all-knowing, the all-creative, the all-powerful essence of the one, that Spirit, okay? And then that's one side of the Trinity. And then let's look at the other side of the Trinity is the form, the body of God. And so anything you can see, take a look around the room, look at your neighbor, look at me, hi, okay. Look outside, we see some trees, we see some light. Anything you can feel, anything that you know, anything that you see, that's the body of God. And it's the form of how things unfold. All right, so we have the infinite aspect of the divine, and we have the form of the divine. And we are the individualized forms of the divine. You good with me so far? Give me a nod, give me a smile. Yeah, okay, good, I'm still here, I'm not running. Okay, good. All right, so then we have the middle part. And that's the tricky part, because how does the infinite become this life, right? Well, it's by the law. Now those are that's our terminology. And I don't have a better word for it. It's the law. And so what that is, I want you to think about maybe the law of cause and effect, right? There is a cause, which is the infinite, and there's an effect, which is the form. And it's the thing that makes it happen. So I like to think of the law as a machine. I like to think of it as a Willy Wonka kind of machine. There's a scene in Willy Wonka where, right, there's that big machine and they kind of it's like they're on a bike, right, making it move, and it moves, and something goes in it, and stuff pops out of it. You following me? Or am I totally off the board here? They're going to be like, well, she's way out today. Okay. All right, so that's how I want you to think about this law. It's a machine. It takes what we put into it, it formulates it, and it spits it out. Okay? And so into the experience. So it takes the thoughts, the beliefs, the ideas into it, and we don't know what it does. We don't need to worry about how it does it because it's just going to do it. And it just pops it out. What we need to focus on is how we put what we're putting into it and what we're experiencing out of it, right? So the law is this thing that just makes God into form. And all it does says yes. Whatever is put into this pops out. Okay? So, the idea is that whatever our thoughts and our beliefs are, they come out into our experience. Whatever we know in our heart, however we are navigating this life, our experience is going to reflect that. And so if we are a negative Nancy, sorry Nancy, if we walk through our life and think that everything is bad and everything's going to where in a handbasket and whatever, what do you think your experience is going to be? Yeah, it's going to be negative and everything's going to look like it's going where in a handbasket, right? The people who are extremely positive, and I've talked about, I have a girlfriend who's the most positive person. I used to think she was fake, but she's not. She's got the most positive outlook in her life and has had some challenges, but still has held on to that, knowing that life is a blessing and that she is blessed and that great things come to her. Do you know what? This woman gets free trips all over the world and she gets gifts poured upon her and Katherine, she has these amazing adventures and she meets these amazing people. And we are like, how does that happen? Well, it happens because it's who she is. And so the idea is that whatever we put into this is what comes out of it. But the law always says yes. The law always says yes. And so from the reading, the phrase that we use in Signs of Mind is that it is done unto you as you believe. And that's one of the core teachings of Jesus. It's one of those things that he taught over and over again. We find it so many times in the Bible. And not only from Jesus, but from some of the other scriptures, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And I love that so much because as a man thinketh, it doesn't say in his brain, right? It doesn't say in his mind. It says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And what that says to me is that it's our deepest knowing. It's the deepest held beliefs we have about ourselves and about life. And that's what is that cause that goes into that machine to bring forth our experience. As we believe. It is done unto us as we believe. Also, Jesus, it's one of Jesus' main teachings. From the story of the faith of the centurion, it says this: when Jesus had entered Capernaum, a centurion came and pleaded with him, Lord, my servant lies at home paralyzed and in terrible agony. Jesus said, I'll go and heal him. And the centurion answered and said, Lord, I'm not worthy to have him come under my roof. We can talk about worthiness in that story another day. But he says, but just say the word and my servant will be healed. For I myself am a man under authority, with soldiers under me. I tell one to go and he goes, and another to come and he comes. I tell my servant to do something and he does it. Then Jesus said to the centurion, go, as you have believed, so it will be done unto you. And his servant was healed that very hour. Also, when Jesus went to heal the blind man, after he had entered the house, the blind man came to him and he said, do you believe that I am able to do this? And the man said, yes, Lord. And then he touched his eyes and said, according to your faith will it be done to you. The law says yes to us, according to our faith, according to our belief. It always says yes. And so it's bringing forward what it is that we believe. And so if we're experiencing certain things in our lives that we don't like, that we want to shift, that we want to change, the first thing we want to do is start to think about, what do we believe about it? What do we believe about our relationship to what that experience is? Do we believe that it's inevitable that we're challenged? Do you believe that you're blessed beyond measure and that the infinite source that has loved you into being continues to source and support you? Is that where your belief lies? Because let me tell you, wherever it is on that scale, that's what your experience is going to be. Because the law always says yes. So the example of that is this. Do you believe that you have to do it by yourself? Well, you know what? You're going to have to do it by yourself. Do you believe that no one else can do it as good as you can? You know what? No one else is going to be able to do it as good as you can. Do you believe that you're supported and you can create whatever it is that you want? There you go, enjoy that, right? Think that you'll be alone forever unless you take the Calling into One class with Stacy and Tina? Right? Because that's one of the things that they're going to change is your belief about the fact that you're going to be alone forever. Take their class, you'll learn that. Or else you might be alone forever. And the thing I love so much about the law is that it is so dedicated to saying yes and not judging whether it's a good choice or a bad choice for you, is that if you believe that this doesn't work, you know what? It's going to work by not working. It's how it works. And so I love that there's this whole part in the Science of Mind that Ernest Holmes talks about that. He talks about the fact that if you are dedicated to believing that this is malarkey and that it's not going to work, then you know what? It's going to work for you by not working. And so why don't we try some belief? If that's the case, let's just try it. Let's just try it and play with it. For me, it feels like an adventure. It's like, okay, going into a candy store, or okay, let me tell you, I went to the Women's March yesterday, which was amazing and powerful, and I can talk about that at some point, but one of the best parts of it was that I parked right next, and I had this belief that I was going to be able to drive right downtown and get parking, and I did. And right in the middle of it, 1 block off, and then when we were walking back to the car, we walked right by Extraordinary Desserts. And there was nobody in it. There were 30,000 people down the street, and there was no one at Extraordinary Desserts. We walked in and got a table. I'm not kidding. No lies. And so, okay, so my example, I'll use this one. My example is, I got to go in there and look at the dessert counter first before any of the other, I'd say, the 20,000 people that ended up there by the time I was done with my lunch. But I was looking in the cabinet, and I got to decide what it was that I got to choose it, right? And then I got to write it down, and then I got to order it. So why don't we do that this year? Why don't we look at the amazing smorgasbord of experiences that we could have? Let's look at that. Okay, do you want the salted caramel cupcake? Because let me tell you, it was real good. I also even was kind enough to bring my family a flourless chocolate tort with fruit and raspberry sauce. That was really good too, because I got a bite of theirs. We shared them, you know? So why don't we choose what it is that we want to experience this year, and then start to put that belief in this machine, in the law, and watch it as it comes forward. Let's watch ourselves create our lives. Let's watch ourselves bring forth an experience that we want. I want us to choose something and see it come into manifestation. Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science, says this: the possibility of healing physical disease, changing environment, attracting friends, and demonstrating supply through the power of right thinking rests entirely on the theory that we're surrounded by an infinite mind which reacts to our thought according to law. He says, we should learn to control our thought processes and bring them into line with reality. Thought should tend more towards an affirmative attitude of mind that is positive, stable, and above all else toward a real unity with spirit that is already complete and perfect. He reminds us that so many of us who dabble in spirituality, who live it, who embrace it, so often we partake in too much theory and not enough practice. Because we are responsible for our creation, because we are responsible for our lives, let's put our attention in a certain way to create something magnificent this year. Let's look and see how we can align our thought processes with that divine creative power that must create, and watch it happen. Because we know that it can happen according to our belief. Again, from this thing called you. Diane wanted me to remind everybody that we've got a bunch in the bookstore now, so you can join us in reading this month. He says this. I forgot my glasses and pencil. I'm in the light. Your faith can penetrate clouds of unbelief and reveal the truth which is forever perfect. Your words do not create this truth, they merely reveal it. By way of illustration, imagine yourself looking at the picture of a beautiful landscape. In this picture, there are trees, a house, a stream of water, a beautiful meadow, and in the background, mountains and a blue sky dotted with clouds. You look at it long, contemplating its beauty. Now suppose that a colored glass is placed between you and the picture, so that the picture appears blurred. Everything seems distorted, and yet nothing has happened to the picture. It's your business to remove the colored glass, because the picture is still there on the wall. It still may be seen. All right, so our job is to clear the filter that obscures the truth. And so we do that by taking control of our minds, our thoughts, and our beliefs. That's the work of the spiritual life. It's to let go of limited thinking, to gain mastery over out-of-control thinking, and to use our minds as creative vehicles. So sometimes in life, it feels like we're out in the middle of the ocean in a little boat without an oar or a motor or a rudder. Right? Have you ever had those moments where it just feels like things start happening and we have no control over it? Sometimes it feels like everything starts going haywire. I had an experience of that this week. I haven't been able to get my email for days. I haven't been able to, my voicemail's all screwed up too. I felt really completely disconnected. I felt like everything's going haywire. I don't understand what's happening with it. I'm feeling a little rudderless out there, being tossed around. That's probably why I came up with this example in this case. But when we take control of our minds, when we take control of our thoughts, when we take control of our life, when we rise up in our creative power is what we're trying to do, that's our rudder. That's our oar. And if we get really good at it, that's our power, outward power motor, right? Because it'll get you there quicker. When we really start to take control of our mind processes. This is the wisdom of saying yes to the divine life that we're living. For us, the wisdom of saying yes for each of us individually is saying yes to the fact that we're connected to something greater. It's saying yes to realize that we're not doing this all on our own. It's yes, I have a part to play in this. It's my job to set the tone, to plant the seeds, to set the course. One of the great things about doing the vision board workshop is that not only does it talk about, support us in having great experiences and creating more abundance and wonderful things in our lives, it gets us clear about what it is that we're wanting. Because so many times, we're just not clear. And so when you start to put confusion into that Willy Wonka machine, what do you think you're going to get out? Confusion, chaos, craziness. So the idea of us getting clear, having control of our mind, is how we engage and how we use this law. Is that we get clear about what it is that we're wanting, we get clear about the experience that we're wanting, and we set forth our minds in that direction and allow the rest to happen. We can let go of that fear and that belief and limitation because we are connected to that divine. Remember a couple weeks ago I asked you to go out and feel the presence of God in your life. Find that place where you feel it. Find that place where you know that there's something greater than you. When you take that feeling of knowing that there's something greater than you are and knowing that so well that love, pure, passionate, joy-filled love is the experience you're wanting to have this year, you just planted a seed. You just wait with joyful expectancy, with joyful anticipation. That's our job. One of the things I've been saying a lot lately, and I can't stop doing it, I can't seem to stop doing it, is stay in your lane, girl. Right? So my job is to stay in my lane. My job is to stay in my lane, which is to keep focused on who I am and what I know and what it is that I'm wanting to experience. And as I just stay focused on that, I don't allow my mind, my brain, my thought processes to go haywire. I don't let myself go into fear and worry. I focus on what the truth is that I know. And let me tell you, I know this isn't easy. I know it's simple, but it's not easy. Because when you're in the middle of a situation that brings up a lot of fear, oh my goodness, that is a deep experience. Your heart rate goes up, your stomach gets all upset, your hands get sweaty, your mind starts ping-ponging back and forth across the sides. Anybody else have that experience? Like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. You know? So when we get into fear, when we get into worry, when we get into concern, the biggest thing we can do is to find that focal point. To find the focal point and hold on to it. Okay, I had a new example just pop into my head. I'm going to give it, and I hope it's not going over the line. It's like in birth. In birth, they teach you when you're having a baby, they teach you to focus on one thing, to have a focal point of truth, and to watch it, right? For anyone who's partnered with anyone giving birth or anyone who's given birth. The idea is for you to have something to focus on. So you can breathe and focus, and that's it, right? You don't want to go all over the place because you're going to focus on the pain. You're not going to focus on the pain. You're going to focus on the truth, which is you're in a process of creation. You're in a process of birthing something new. And so when we're in a life transition, when we're in a life change, we are calling, I hope I didn't go over the line, is that all right? Did it work? It's a good picture? Yeah, okay, good. All right. Sometimes these things pop into my head and I'm like, oh God, I gotta trust you, but I'm afraid of where it's gonna go. If it goes over the line, I don't wanna do that, you know? So, but the idea here is that we learn how to train our minds. We learn how to train our brains. I've been engaged in the last month of trying to train a puppy. Okay? And I am glad to say that in the last 36 hours, which is a lot of time to celebrate, this puppy has not peed on our carpets or pooped in my house. Yay, Susie. But what I also realize is this is the blind leading the blind, by the way, because I have no idea how to train a puppy. And I have not done any study on how to train a puppy. And I just know, let's just take her out a lot and hopefully she'll get trained. Well, that doesn't work. You know? So trying to, and that's what I think half of us, what many times that we are trying to do, how we're engaging in our life. I'd kind of like to do this. I know I have some work to do with it. Let's just do it. Okay, great, let's go. Without being focused on how do I train a puppy? How do I train my brain? How do I train my mind? That's where we're focusing. Again, Ernest Holmes says this. Each of us is now demonstrating his concept of life, but trained thought is far more powerful than untrained thought. And the one who gives conscious power to his thought should be more careful what he thinks than the one who does not. The more power one gives to his thought, the more completely he believes that his thought has power, the more power it will have. And so we're called to work with our minds. This is where affirmations come into play. This is why we are encouraged to be aware of what and how we're thinking. To awaken, the first step is to wake up to what your thought processes are like, because so many of us don't even know what's going on up there. It just is like an ongoing tape. Why building our faith through prayer and study is so important. And why it's so important to be careful about what kind of media and messages we're surrounding ourselves with. We are starting this year with a mind cleanse. So many people start the year with a cleanse. Anybody do a cleanse to begin the year yet? To get all the Christmas sugar out of your body? You know, I'm not going to make you all drink green drinks after service. We're not going to do that. I'm not going to give you kale juice like I drink every day. I'm not going to make you do that. But we are going to go on a mind cleanse. It's important to begin to build the structure around yourself that protects the beauty of your mind. It doesn't pollute it. And so, are you watching the news more than you really should? Are you engaging in negative conversation about the state of the economy, the world, how everything again is going, you know, where in a handbasket? No, okay. Where is our belief living here? Where is your mind? And what are you feeding it with? What kind of TV shows, what kind of reading materials, what kinds of things are you surrounding yourself with? And now I know this is nothing new and you've all heard it a billion times. But again, let's go back to the closets. It's time to go look in our closet and see what has happened in this last year since we did this last time, to see if it's time to start organizing it again. Let's fortify those structures of our days that feed us, that nurture us and support us. So one of the things that we're really encouraging is that everybody in this community get into a sacred circle this year. Everyone. I would love to see them overfilled. I would love to see every single name on one of those lists out there. And this is why. The way that we're setting it up this year is that there's 4 weeks. So starting next week, for 4 weeks the group will meet. And you're going to meet, they're led by practitioners, they're in homes around the community in different places, and so that's how we did it. We put the area of town that the sacred circles are in and the time. And so you find one that works for your schedule, you find a space that's close to you. There's actually one here on Wednesdays also, there's one in the center too. They're led by our licensed spiritual practitioners, and so there's 4 weeks that you're going to be together in setting the tone for this year. And then we're going to come back just once a month. Once a month, a circle of support and prayer and connection on the themes of the month. And we really encourage everyone to do this, because even that little amount of support is going to support you in taking that next step. It's going to keep you aligned to moving in the direction that you're wanting to go. And it's going to support you in starting to work those muscles of your mind to keep you on that positive, to keep you in that knowing that you are empowered, that you are not alone, that everything is possible for you, that you are abundantly sourced and supported. These things are powerful truths in our lives, but when we forget, when we get too pulled into the experience of the world, then we start to shake a little. Our lives start to move in that limitation. And it's time for us to let that go. It's time for us to really step into our power. So when you hear yourself saying, oh, my poor head, or oh, what a pain in my neck, or oh, I wish I could do that, but I just don't see how it's possible. Those are flags. That's a wake-up call. That's an idea for you to say, you know what, that's not the truth of who I am. Cancel, or whatever you want to say. Do a little dance, turn around, pick up a rock. I don't know, whatever it is for you, to put yourself back on the center, to remember the truth. That's not the truth of me. The truth is I am the powerful emanation of God, empowered with the creative force that brought forth the universe. I could create anything I want. We can move through this experience of life with a little bit more grace. We can move through stepping up into another level of experience. Now, I heard something from one of my colleagues this week that really spoke to me, and I'm probably going to do a whole series on it at somewhere down the line here, but he said this, and this is my buddy Reverend Dr. David Alexander up from Portland, and he said this. He said that wholeness is the truth of our being. So what that means is that any one moment you are whole, perfect, and complete. You are where you're supposed to be. That's the truth. That in any one moment, everything is well with you, even though you may be in the middle of a challenge. And that's true. That's the truth. But at the same time, your nature is growth. Your nature is expansion and evolvement, unfolding. So you may be perfect in any one moment, but that doesn't mean that's the end-all be-all for you. That doesn't mean that you're stuck with your lot in life and that you just need to hold on to that and just let that be. Because you are ever evolving, you are ever growing. And if you're here breathing and in this life, you're not done. By the way, I don't care if you're retired, I don't care whatever, what you're doing in your life, you are here to grow and expand and evolve. You may think you have arrived. Well, sorry. You're still going. And it's not a race, it's an unfoldment. And so we are here to unfold and to evolve and to allow this divine yes to resonate in our lives. And so that's my invitation for us this year. So next week, so the whole idea is that this month we've done all the basics. We've gone through the first 4 chapters of the Science of Mind. We've talked about the presence of God and how it is in our life. And then next week we've got questions and answers. Stump the chump, I like to call it. So you got to ask me what you want to know more about. So that should be fun. It always makes me a little nervous, and it's more fun. It's really fun to do interaction in the service. And so the intention for this week is for you to take this information, to contemplate it, to meditate on it, to see what you want to do with your year this year. What is your spiritual adventure going to be? And let's talk about it next week. Let's start to put it into practice. Get into a sacred circle and let us support you in creating the experience that you want because we are on a spiritual adventure together. We are the divine emanations of God. And it is time for us to experience the magnificence and the joy of this life. And I have a big vision for each of us for 2018. And I'm glad you're with me on it. And so